Part 1. The kitchen table. You grow up in a house where money is not discussed because there is nothing to discuss. This is Gary, Indiana, 2001. Your father drives a forklift at a steel distribution center. Days only, because the night shift pays more, and he bid for it 3 times and lost 3 times to men with more seniority and less reason to care. Your mother works the front desk at a dental office she will never be able to afford as a patient. She brings home the sample toothbrushes. That is the extent of the dental benefit. You share a bedroom with your younger sister until you are 13. The wall between your room and the kitchen is thin enough that you hear the bills being sorted on Friday nights, the specific sound of envelopes being stacked by urgency, which is a skill your parents developed without anyone teaching them. You are not poor enough for anyone to notice. That's the particular cruelty of your kind of broke. Not homeless, not hungry, not technically. You're the kid whose shoes are almost right, whose jacket is close enough, who has learned to laugh at exactly the right moments so nobody looks too carefully. At school, you are sharp, dangerously sharp. Your economics teacher, Mr. Beaumont, Vietnam vet, reads 3 newspapers before class, keeps a coffee mug that says world's okayest teacher without irony, tells you in 8th grade that you ask questions nobody your age asks. He means it as a compliment. You hear it as a distance measurement. How far you already are from where you started, how much further you could go. You start reading about business the way other kids read about athletes, not theory, mechanics, how companies actually work, where the margins go, why the same product costs 3 times as much depending on who's selling it and how they're selling it. By 16, you understand distribution economics better than most MBAs ever will. That knowledge sits in your chest, like something that doesn't belong there yet. You watch your father get passed over for a supervisor role he'd been doing informally for 2 years. The company hires someone from outside. Your father says nothing about it at dinner. Your mother asks if anyone wants more rice. You watch him reach for the rice and understand, with a clarity that is much too heavy for a 16-year-old, that the system was not designed with your father in mind. You decide, sitting at that table, that you will learn the system well enough to build one of your own. Part 2. The mentor. His name is Calvin Marsh. He is 31 and already worth $22 million, and he speaks at your high school's Entrepreneurship Day because his nephew goes there and he owed his sister a favor. He is the only person in the room who does not seem impressed by being in the room. Everyone else is half asleep. You are taking notes. After the assembly, you follow him to the parking lot. You don't plan it. Your feet just go. He's loading into a car that costs more than everything in your house combined. And you say, what part of the speech was true? He stops. He looks at you the way people look at something that moved when it wasn't supposed to. Which part did you think wasn't? The part about passion. Nobody builds something real on passion. Passion is what you say when you don't want to explain the actual reason. He is quiet for a moment. Then he says, you got a phone? He sends you a Dropbox link, a folder of market analysis documents, raw data, no narrative. The kind of thing someone dumps before a pitch meeting to see if the other person does their homework. If you can tell me what's missing from these by Sunday, text me. You find 4 gaps by Saturday morning. You text him all 4. He calls you back in 11 minutes. For 18 months, you are his unpaid research assistant, which is probably exploitation and almost certainly the best education available to someone who can't afford the alternative. You work weekends. You build models nobody asked for. You learn that the people who do work nobody asked for are the ones who eventually get asked for everything. Calvin's office is a converted floor of a building in Indianapolis that smells like old carpet and ambition in proportions that keep changing. 6 people, mismatched chairs, a whiteboard that has never once been fully erased. You take a bus 2 hours each way. You bring food from home because you've done the math on what 3 years of small expenses costs at 8% compounded, and the number changed how you look at vending machines permanently. His head of operations is a woman named Teresa, logistics background, speaks in constraints, runs on bad coffee, has an answer for every problem before you finish describing it. Teresa teaches you something Calvin never could, how to see a business as a system of dependencies. Which parts break first? Which parts look broken but aren't? Where the actual leverage lives versus where people think it does. You learn more in that office than 4 years of college would have taught you. You know this because you also do 4 years of college. Partial scholarship, business and computer science, working the Indianapolis job in parallel, sleeping 5 hours a night, living entirely in the distance between what you are and what you are trying to become. There is a version of your early 20s that other people have, weekends that belong to themselves, relationships without expiration dates. The specific freedom of not calculating the opportunity cost of every hour. You watch it happen around you and feel not envy. Something more specific. The recognition that you are choosing. And that the thing you are choosing over is a kind of ordinary you will spend the rest of your life trying to remember clearly. You don't regret it. Not yet. At 20, sacrifice still feels like strategy. Part 3. The execution. You are 21. You have an idea, not a startup idea. Everyone has those. A specific, operational, unglamorous idea about how mid-market logistics companies hemorrhage 15 to 20% of their margin on fragmented last-mile contracting, and how a software layer that standardizes those contracts and automates the renegotiation cycles could capture half that margin for whoever builds it first. You have mapped it. You have a working prototype built over 8 months in a 2-bedroom apartment you share with a classmate who asks almost no questions. You show Calvin. He offers to fund it. $150,000 for 35%. You say no. You have never said no to Calvin Marsh. The word arrives before the decision does. 35% is too much. You've run the dilution math across 4 funding scenarios, and 35% at seed means you own nothing meaningful by Series B. It costs everything at scale. Calvin looks at you for a moment, then he smiles. Not warmly, but with the specific professional respect of someone who has just been beaten at something. You're going to need more than $150,000 anyway. I know. You finish your degree because you are 3 months from the end, and your mother would not forgive an incomplete. You graduate on a Saturday. You incorporate on Monday. You call your father from the parking lot after the ceremony. He is quiet for a long time. Then he says, okay, 1 word. The weight of every skipped promotion and every sorted envelope. You name the company something plain. Names don't matter. Execution matters. Margins matter. The line gets crossed in a parking lot, in a phone call, in a single word from a man who counted every quarter. It always does. You raise $1.8 million from 4 angels. You give up 14%. You spend 7 months making the product work before you charge a single dollar for it, which means by the time you price it, you already know it works. And pricing it correctly is the first thing you do, right, that nobody taught you. You price high. High signals certainty. You close more contracts in the following quarter than you did in the preceding year. The product works. That sounds obvious. It is not obvious. Most products don't work. Series A, Series B, each round a negotiation, and each negotiation is a test of how badly you need the money. The best time to raise is when you don't need it, which means the system rewards people who already have enough. You file that away. You don't examine it too closely. You can't afford to examine it too closely yet. By 24, you have 180 employees. By 25, you have 480. You stop knowing everyone's name somewhere around 250, and this bothers you more than you say out loud to anyone. The acquisition offer arrives on a Tuesday. $2.9 billion. You take it. You are 26 years old, and the wire clears on a Thursday afternoon. And you look at the number on your phone for about 40 seconds, and then you set the phone face down on the kitchen counter, and you stand at the window of your apartment in a city that does not know or care what just happened. Part 4. The hum. It doesn't feel like anything. You expected something. Arrival, completion, the exhale of a man who has been holding his breath since a kitchen table in Gary, Indiana. Instead, there is a low, directionless hum, like a television left on in another room. You wait for something else to arrive. Some second wave, some delayed feeling proportionate to the number. You give it an hour. You call Teresa. She says congratulations, and you both laugh awkwardly for 30 seconds and hang up. The hum doesn't change. You had thought this was the end of something. You were wrong about what it was the end of. You buy your parents a house. Your father walks through every room twice, touching the walls, not saying much. Your mother stands in the kitchen and cries without trying to stop. This is the only moment in the entire year that feels proportionate to what happened. Everything else is lawyers, board seats, security protocols, a communications manager who reviews everything you say publicly, an assistant who manages everything privately. You check the exits in every room automatically now, without deciding to. Part 5. The sister. You fly home for Thanksgiving. Your sister picks you up in her 2011 Hyundai. She teaches middle school. She seems fine, genuinely, uncomplicatedly fine. On the drive, she plays a song from when you were both kids. She sings along badly, unself-consciously, the way you sing when there's no audience. You realize sitting there that you cannot remember the last time you did anything without an audience, without calculating the signal of it, the cost of it, the way it would read to someone watching. Every conversation is a positioning exercise. Every dinner is a relationship maintenance decision. Every minute is a resource allocation. Your sister is singing badly to a song from 2007. You look out the window at the flat Indiana landscape, gray November sky, strip malls, the specific Midwestern emptiness that used to feel like a ceiling and now feels like something you cannot name. Something in your chest moves, not breaks. Moves, like furniture shifted an inch. You don't sing along. You've forgotten the words. That's the part that stays with you. They install a professional CEO 14 months after the acquisition. Technically, you agreed to it. You signed the paperwork. But the acquiring company made clear, in the polite way that power makes things clear, that a founder running a nearly $3 billion integration is a risk profile they weren't underwriting. You become Chief Strategy Officer. The title means we will put you in front of investors and you will make the business sound inevitable. You watch the product get remade. Features deprecated for portfolio alignment, pricing restructured in ways that punish the mid-market customers you built the thing for. The culture rebranded into the language of culture without any of the content. What you lose is not the control. You expected to lose the control. What you lose is the specific feeling of watching something become what it was supposed to be. The iteration. The problem that finally gives, the late night moment when a thing that didn't work yesterday works today, and the only people who know are the four of you in the room. That process, that was the only part that ever felt real. Now it belongs to someone else. And you have to sit in glass-walled offices and say nothing because you signed the paperwork. You were never the company. You were the origin story. Origin stories are useful for press releases. They don't run the quarterly business review. You resign on a Wednesday, mutual language, stock fully vested, number unchanged. This is the collapse, not poverty, not failure, just irrelevance. The specific modern violence of becoming optional inside something you built. Part 6. The engine. You try stopping. 3 months. House in Nashville. Money you will never need to touch. Mornings with no meetings. You take walks. You read books you've been meaning to read for 5 years. You have dinner with people who have nothing to do with anything you've built. It is the most uncomfortable you have ever been, because the hunger doesn't know what to do with comfort. It was built on the kitchen table in Gary, on the sorted envelopes, on your father's face when the supervisor job went to someone else. It was built to solve a problem. And the problem is solved now. The house exists, the retirement exists, the forklift shift is done. But the hunger doesn't know that. The hunger is still running. It doesn't check the account balance. It just runs. 6 months after you resign, you incorporate again. New city, new problem. Smarter this time, leaner, built on everything the first one cost you. The seed round closes in 9 days. At the first all hands, 43 people are looking at you and you feel the hum again, low, directionless, the television in the other room. You are 28 years old. You have done this twice. You will do it again. You already know. You are in a board meeting. New table, new city, someone presenting numbers you've already reviewed. You're supposed to be listening. Instead, you are thinking about your father at the kitchen sink, icing his back after a double shift he didn't choose to work. You have given him everything he didn't have. The house, the retirement, the ability to say no to a shift. You solved the problem you decided to solve at 16, sitting at that table, watching him reach for the rice. He is proud of you, genuinely, without complication, in the way that only someone who never wanted this for himself can be proud of someone who did. But you cannot remember the last time you felt what he feels. That's sufficiency. The ability to sit at a table and feel like the table is enough. The thing that made you valuable, the relentlessness, the refusal to be satisfied, the hunger that outlasted the poverty that built it, is the same thing that makes every arrival feel like nothing. The wound doesn't close when the money comes. The wound is the engine. Close it and you stop. You are 28 and you already know you will not stop it. You just wanted it to know, once, that you knew. Somewhere in Gary right now, a 16-year-old is sitting in a school assembly. Most of the room is asleep. Someone in an expensive car is explaining success in the version that makes the room feel safe. The kid is taking notes. He doesn't know yet what he's really writing down. He thinks he's learning how to get out. He doesn't know yet that getting out and getting free are different destinations, and that the distance between them is the part nobody puts in the speech. After the assembly, his legs will carry him somewhere before he decides to go. The door is about to open. It always does.